So our near perfect late summer weather ended when the remnants of the last hurricane moved over Ohio, and it has just sat here since mid last week. We've just had a bunch of rain and drizzle. I can't really complain compared to the devastation it caused in the southern half of the United States, to be clear. But anyways, this caused me to do a couple things I almost never do, which is go out for a bike ride knowing it was going to be raining. Well, I said a couple things. Basically, I went out in 2 rain rides. On Saturday, we had planned to go out to a place called Bent Ladder. It's a really cool cider bar and Ohio wine bar on an orchard. It has these beautiful views, and they have fires and music. And so we decided, let's cut it short knowing that it's raining. Let's save that for a pretty night and not go when it's going to be like this. Instead, we went to Magic City, which made for more of a 20-mile ride instead of like a 50-mile ride. I didn't film anything at Magic City because we were doing our planning for our upcoming fall trips, which will be Nutmeg and a mountain bike trip. So I just got all busy with that, and I didn't really think of telling that part of the story. While we were sitting in the brewery, it actually absolutely poured. You could see how wet the bike path is here. But on our ride home, it was more of just a light rain, so I didn't even get completely soaked through on this ride. This little section of path here is pretty slick with the way the concrete is, so that's why we were being pretty careful. In general, riding on pavement or anything like that, or the crushed limestone, I don't worry about it. There are a couple spots, though. Wet bricks can be bad, that concrete I just showed, and then the bridges on the bike paths. I think they use teak wood because it doesn't rot, but that could become like ice, especially near the beginning of the rain. So I'm pretty cautious on the bridges now. Buddy Brad went down last winter after a little bit of a rain. So yeah, just try and be a little careful in those spots. But in general, traction isn't an issue. So when I say I don't ride in the rain, I don't care if in the summer I get caught out in the rain when I've left for a ride. It's just if it's actively raining when I'm getting ready to go, I usually don't head out. The next day, though, it was drizzling and we decided to go anyways. We were planning to do another one of our fall rides, which is our annual pie ride. I don't know how we started this tradition. I think we started riding to this orchard because we were hoping they would have apple fritters, but instead they have these 6 inches homemade apple pies and pumpkin pies, so we ride out there and get those. We were a little bit on the fence whether we were still going to do it, and then we're like, hey, let's just go for it. If we feel like we want to bail, we always can. This day, I believe the weather was in the high 60s. I did put on my rain jacket, but if it's going to be summery weather, I don't do anything to ride in the rain. I basically just get wet. I find that anything that would really keep you dry is too warm to wear in the summer, and you'll just end up sweating so much you might as well be wet from the rain instead of from your sweat. Being that I'm not totally adjusted to weather's a little chillier yet, I did wear my rain jacket. It's a Rafa rain jacket I bought a few years ago when I saw it on a deep discount. It could be even a little warm for a day like this, but for the ride out, I was fine wearing it. You could see Erin has her chrome rain jacket zipped open, and I think Ben's wearing a wool shirt. I did wear wool boxers. I find that if they do get wet, wool is so much more comfortable. Wool is so much more comfortable in general, even in the warm weather, thin merino wool, and I've been building a collection of wool underwear. I didn't have any of my wool t-shirts clean right now, so I am just wearing a cotton t-shirt. But for that reason, in my bag, I do have one of those waterproof bags, the real thin, what are they, Dyneema or whatever material bags, Cedar Summit. So in there I had an extra t-shirt, I had extra socks, and then I had a wool surly jacket, so just something in case I did get chilly, which was nice to have. Both days on these rides, I put those on while we sat there and ate. So if you don't know, the great thing about merino wool is the thin stuff can keep you cool and it feels much more dry. You can wear it multiple times. It just doesn't feel as gross when you get all wet with it on. The thicker merino wool is great because merino can still insulate even when it's wet. So that's kind of my strategy when there is a colder rain is I just know I'm not going to stay completely dry. Try and keep dry with my rain jacket up top, but I'll just wear wool tights or wool legging type things when I'm riding in the cold rain and know they're going to get wet, but that they're going to still be insulating me. I've never really tried to deal with rain pants. If I rode in the rain and winter all the time, or if I live somewhere, I don't know, the Pacific Northwest or parts of Europe, then maybe I would try and figure that out. Let me know what your rain clothes strategy is. As mentioned, we always just kind of ride at a decent pace, and I just find that trying to stay completely dry in almost any temperature just keeps you too hot. I also find there's different levels of discomfort of riding in the rain. You know, when you first go out in the rain and you first start to get wet, and I just find it to be a little annoying, but then you kind of get used to just being a little damp. The next level is when it really starts to soak through and be uncomfortable. You kind of start to think you're as wet as you can get, and then you get even more wet, and you're like, especially when it starts to really hit your crotch and all that kind of stuff. But I do find that once I'm completely soaked, then I just totally forget about it, as long as I'm not catching a chill. There was a time we did a 120-some mile ride back from Conneaut home, and it just poured the whole time, but it was warm. And I remember, part of the way through that ride, we would just be taking a break, like eating our snacks, just standing there in the pouring rain. It's almost like you didn't even think about it. I also understand the strategy would be completely different if you are a full-time commuter. I'm a recreational cyclist, so I don't have to ride in the rain if I don't want to, so I just really don't need all the gear. So our pie destination was Beckwith Orchards. This is out past Kent, Ohio, the Brady Lake area. You do not pick your own apples at this orchard, which I like. I understand that people like the you pick stuff, a couple's activity, a family activity. I guess you put on your little outfit and get your Instagram photo of you picking an apple. I have no interest in that. I worked on a farm forever, and I do not want to do farm work. Also, the farmers are the experts. I'm not an apple expert. I'm not a berry expert. I'd rather the experts pick the produce and give me the good stuff, and I walk in and buy it. I actually stopped one time on a ride at a place that I saw was all you pick, and I'm like, nope, I am not here to do work. So Aaron had the Dutch apple pie, I had the regular apple pie, and Ben had pumpkin pie. So we sat there, ate our pies, then we walked over to the orchard. Normally on a nice weather day, I'd have my cameras with me and we'd take some photos and all that stuff, but we just spent a little bit of time. We were lucky as we took off again, it had stopped raining for a little while, which is always nice after you sat down to go out and not be getting wet instantly. It did pick back up as we were riding a little bit later. So people are inevitably going to comment on this video, why not a bike with full fenders? You can see Ben is riding his full fendered bike, and you can see Aaron is riding with one of those clip-on fenders. As I mentioned, I don't have to commute. If I did, I would make sure I had a full fendered bike. I have fenders here, I've just never set one up like that. My gunner has fenders, but being that I ride that for mountain biking and off-road stuff and pick up sticks, I just don't want to deal with it on that bike. So I go with the clip-on fender like Aaron has. I actually don't understand why everybody doesn't own one of these things, or at least one of those little plastic Ass Saver brands ones that go up under your saddle. Once in a while, I'll see someone in the pro peloton using one, and I'm like, good on that dude for being smart. Why would you want water shooting up your back and on your butt? Like, that's the worst feeling in the world, and those little plastic fenders are so cheap and do a good enough of job to keep you a little bit comfortable. Of course, nothing is the same as full fenders. I fully understand that. That's what I do. This is how I ride. So I am really happy we did go out. Like I said, we got wet, but it wasn't horrible. I never soaked entirely all the way through. But even if I had, if I wasn't going to ride in the rain, I wasn't going to be able to ride all weekend, and we would have missed some of the fall activities that we wanted to do. So again, let me know what you guys do. Do you just avoid the rain entirely? Do you really try to keep yourself dry? Or do you do what I do, which is just get wet, and then on top of that, maybe prepare to be able to switch into something dry or have clothes that'll keep you warm if you do catch a bit of a chill. The hike and bike is one of my favorite trails to ride because it is curvy and up and down a bit, so it just has some fun. But that is one thing to mention. I talked about the slick surfaces earlier. Wet leaves in the fall are something to definitely be careful about. We were going a little slower than we normally do because of that. Aaron decided that we should stop at HiHo Brewing and get a quick fall beer before heading back to the studio. anyways, look at me out here expanding my horizons. I am excited for some of the fall things we have to come. I'm excited to take you along with me and show you what we have going on. Anyways, that'll about do it for this video. Remember to give this video that thumbs up. It helps the channel, I guess. That's what they tell me. And also, if you want to support us some more, consider becoming a channel member. There's a link for that below. I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.